All right, here we go. Leave Me Alone by Vera Broskall. Leave me alone! Once there was an old woman. She lived in a small village in a small house with a very big family. Winter was coming. That meant she had some very important knitting to do. But it wasn't getting done. I wonder why. Her grandchildren were very curious about her knitting. Were you supposed to hit the ball with a stick? Could you eat it? Could you make your brother eat it? Why did the ball get smaller and smaller as you chased it? The old woman was at the end of her rope. So she made her bed as neatly as she could. She swept the floorboards until they more or less shone. She drank tea from her samovar. She packed up her things in a big sack, and as she left, she shouted back, "Leave me alone!" The old woman walked through the deep, dark forest. She made a fire so that she could see what she was doing. Then she sat down and began to knit. The bear family was very curious about the light from her fire and about what she might taste like. "Leave me alone!" the old woman shouted. But they didn't listen because bears don't speak English. So she picked up her sack and left. The old woman climbed up the mountainside. It was so cold, she found a small, sheltered place. Then she sat down and began to knit. The mountain goats were excited to have a visitor, especially one that brought snacks. "Leave me alone!" the old woman shouted. But the goats were too busy fighting over the red ones, which they all agreed were the best. So she picked up her sack and left. The old woman climbed higher and higher up the mountain. She reached the top and climbed onto the moon. She found a chair that was shaped like a rock. She sat down and she began to knit. The little green moon men had never seen a woman before, old or otherwise. They examined her with handheld scanners that went beep, boop, bop. "Leave me alone!" the old woman shouted. But the little green moon men couldn't hear her because they don't have any ears. So she picked up her sack and left through a wormhole. The void on the other side of the wormhole was very dark and very, very quiet. She was absolutely, completely, utterly alone. It was perfect. Soon she had no more yarn and 30 little sweaters. And she was alone. So she put her 30 sweaters back into her big sack. She swept the void until it was a nice matte black. She had a cup of tea from her samovar. Then she picked up the sack and left through another wormhole. When she came out on the other side, everything was right where she had left it. And she didn't say a word. The end. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that story and that it made you chuckle, because I like to think about how sometimes I want to be all by myself and other times I like having my family around too. Now that you've read the story, I'm going to have something for you to do that's going to involve some artwork if you want. If you just want to think about what you read and talk about it with somebody in your house, you can do that too. But if you're feeling creative and kind of artistic today, you can click to find out some more about an activity that I have for you. Okay, see you soon, friends. Bye.